Okay, so we're going to have public comment. The time limit is going to be 3 minutes. First name is Robert Schaller.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Robert Schaller. I'm a resident of Homer Glen. I'm here tonight to speak on item 10A, Will County zoning case CZ-26-020, the Badger infrastructure rezoning request. I want to be up front. I have nothing against Badger as a company. I'm sure they run a solid operation. But this isn't about Badger. This is about what we're being asked to let happen to a parcel of land in our community and whether it's consistent with the future we want for this area. What is being proposed is a zoning map amendment to reclassify the property at 15202 West 159th Street from C2 local commercial and R2 single family residential to C4 highway commercial. For folks who are not familiar with Will County zoning districts, C2 is designed for neighborhood shopping centers, small to moderate retail, restaurants, and mixed use. The kind of development that serves families and generates activity in a community. C4 is the most intensive commercial classification Will County has. It's designed for auto-oriented uses and opens the door to operations that lower commercial districts were never intended to accommodate. And that's the key point. This isn't just about Badger. A zoning map amendment runs with the land permanently. Once that parcel is rezoned to C4, it's not just a hydrovac company that's authorized. It's an entire C4 use table. Badger could sell the property next year and a more intensive operation moves in by right. And the neighbors on Glenview Court and Glendale Lane have no say in the matter. The nice renderings and the promises about berms and screens, none of that is enforceable under a map amendment. Once the zoning changes, those commitments disappear with the current applicant. What we're talking about is 30 to 40 industrial trucks dispatching at 6 o'clock in the morning every morning, offloading water, soil, rock every afternoon right next door to people's homes. I don't care how attractive the building looks. That is not what the families on Glenview Court signed up for when they bought their homes. A landscape berm does not change the sound of a diesel engine starting before sunrise. And beyond the neighborhood impact, this rezoning conflicts with the long-term vision on 159th Street corridor. Previous comprehensive plan designates this area for a commercial and mixed-use development. Retail, restaurants, offices, the kind of uses that generate sales tax revenue, foot traffic, community activity. A truck staging yard generates none of that. And I think it's telling. This community has already fought this fight. As recently as of October 24, Homer Glen residents pushed back against an attempt to rezone property along 159th
Sorry. Time. Just finish yours.
Street. Will the board allow me to finish?
Yes.
Homer Glen residents pushed back against an attempt to rezone property along 159th Street to a more intensive classification, and the Will County Board unanimously supported Homer Glen's residents' position. Allowing this rezoning to go through would be inconsistent with that decision and with this community has clearly stated it wants for this corridor. Now, I understand that the decision on this rezoning ultimately rests with the Will County Board, not with this body. But this board's voice matters. The residents of this township are represented at this table. And when the county board considers this case, they should know where Homer Township stands. So tonight I'm respectfully asking this board to pass a formal resolution opposing Will County zoning case CZ-26-020 and to communicate that opposition in writing to the Will County Board. Under Illinois law, a formal objection from municipality within 1.5 miles of this property triggers a 3/4 supermajority requirement at the county level. If the township board adds its voice alongside any municipal opposition, that sends a unified message to Will County that the people who actually live here reject this rezoning. County board members who represent our area need to hear that clearly before they cast their vote. I moved to this community for the same reason most of us did. The neighborhoods, the open spaces, the sense of people here that care about what happens next door and down the street. Development is going to come, and nobody's against growth, but growth has to be the right growth in the right places, consistent with the vision of this community has already set for itself. An industrial truck yard on 159th Street is not that vision. Thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for the work you do for the community.
My name's Debbie Rico. I work for the township. I have for over 10 years as a chief deputy in the assessor's office. I was a deputy for a long time. My coworkers and I are really concerned about a rumor that we've heard really recently that you guys in your budget talks have considered lowering our benefits, making us pay much more for our benefits, and not giving raises at the same time to help defray those costs. So if that's true, that's what I'd like to talk about for the next couple of minutes. Paying 30% of my health insurance premium would reduce my take-home pay by 18.5%. I don't know anybody in this room who could afford an 18.5% pay cut. I know I can't. I don't think any of us or our families can absorb that kind of cost, as all the other costs are rising, whether it be gas, housing, utilities, groceries, everything that we have to pay for every day. It's really discouraging to think that the board would even consider something like that. We work really hard every day. We serve our constituents. We serve the community. I worry that doing something of that, would even make it harder for us to retain employees, to find good employees. We have, next year is a quadrennial year in our office. We have to revalue the entire township. That generally generates between 300 and 400 appeals that we have to work on in just a few months' time to get all those in, get our evidence together. It's a lot of work, and we all work really hard together to do it. So I really just want to make a statement that I hope you value our work enough not to make a change like that. We've kind of done our own little poll. I know in one of the meeting minutes recently of a meeting, Sue said that she was kind of asking around what are other townships doing. In our poll, we actually heard back from about 15 of the 20-some townships in Will County, and only a few of them were even asking 10% of their employees. There were some different ways that they did it. Some did it a flat percentage of each of their income. Some did it where the employee got health insurance for free, but they charged them a percentage for any kind of dependents. So there's a lot of different things to consider, and I hope you would consider something different rather than just a flat 10, 20, or 30% of us paying toward the premiums. So I think there's a lot of possibilities to consider, and I really hope that you guys would work with us and help us be the part of the conversation as you do it. Like I said, I don't even know if it's true, the rumor that we're hearing, but if it is, I just wanted to go on record as letting you guys know, as employees, we're really concerned and really even afraid of getting that kind of pay cut. So all that being said, we do understand that budgets are important and they matter. Hard decisions have to be made sometimes, and that's why we would hope that you would consider and work with us, or even include us in part of the conversation to say, let's work together to find what might be a tenable cut or solution to the problem if you guys are having budget problems. We looked at the last couple years of budgets for the health insurance premiums, and they're actually down $30,000 over the last 2 years. So I don't know what changes are different in the budget from then to now, but I just want to go on record as saying I'm against it. I hope that you guys would reconsider if that's something that you're considering at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Kevin North.
Kevin North, myself, Logan Lott, Chris Holster, all here from Badger, so I don't know if we're going to be asked to speak again when it's number 10 is on the agenda, or if we should let others go so we can answer all their questions now, or how the board wants to handle it.
I would say wait till they ask their questions, and when we have this on the agenda, we'll...
Just want to make sure we have the opportunity.
Okay. Logan Mullet.
I'm with Badger as well.
Oh, sorry. And Chris Halsey.
Same, I'm with Badger as well.
Oh, okay. Ernest Barrico.
Thank you. Thank you for the members. On behalf of here for my wife and her fellow employees, same thing with that rumor. As you know, the gas prices are going, everything is going up. And there's employees in that office that just are trying to start a family. So please take in consideration when you think about that, when you decide to add 10% or take 10%, 5%, 2%, 1%, whatever it is away from their paychecks. It's not right. I don't think so. So I don't think it's fair. Not fair to the employees, especially when they're trying to start a family. So thank you.
And Steve Ballish III.
My name is Steve Ballage. I work for the Homer Township Assessor's Office. I'm here to address those rumors as well about the insurance. I keep hearing the same thing, that this board is considering raising what we currently pay, which is approximately 1.54%, to something as high as 30%. Worse yet, we're hearing that it might be without any pay raises. So let's just call it what this would be. It's a pay cut disguised as a benefit change. To understand how extreme the proposal was, I contacted as many townships as I could in Will County, and the results were pretty consistent. 8 townships are so small they're only part-time employees. They're not really comparable with what we're doing with benefits. 6 townships didn't respond. 7 townships all have some version of 0% insurance costs to employees. 2 townships have 10% employee share costs, but Lockport gives a yearly raise, which I confirmed directly with their elected officials. Frankfurt has an HSA option as well as a stipend if you don't take their insurance. These townships treat their employees as assets, not budget burdens. They understand that competitive benefits are essential for retention, morale, and basic fairness. Even the expectations prove the point. Lockport requires employees to pay 10%, but they also provide the annual raises. Again, confirmed by their elected officials. Wheatland Township does the same, but they adjust their wages to match the cost of living and inflation. Homer Township does none of this. Raising our share from 1.54% approximately to 30% would not only make us the worst in Will County, it would put us employees in a financial position that's just not unsustainable. I strongly encourage every employee of Homer Township to call these neighboring townships themselves, verify the numbers, and look what other public sector workers receive. Do this to understand how far behind we already are and how much worse this proposal would make it. Given all this, I'm asking the board to hold off on any changes that might change the current status quo, as we are currently in the process of talking to unions. And any attempt to impose a 30% insurance premium or anything close to that will only accelerate the process. We're not asking for special treatment. We're not asking for fairness. Stability and respect, the same basic standards that every other township in this county already provides. Thank you.
Okay, and Joyce Hale.
Thank you. My name is Joyce Hale, and I live in Cedar Glen, a subdivision that would be negatively impacted by the rezoning request for Badger daylighting if it's approved. This rezoning proposal raises several serious concerns. First, the increase in truck traffic is alarming. From what I was told, it could be up to 80 trucks, each over 36 feet long and weighing more than 46,000 pounds, that would be regularly traveling through our area. That means more congestion, more wear and tear on our roads, and greater safety risks to our community and emergency vehicles. Our roads were simply not designed for this level of industrial traffic. We're also concerned about the proposed operating hours of 6 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Residents would be subjected to early morning noise, constant truck activity 6 days a week. That kind of schedule will directly negatively alter the quality of life for the surrounding neighborhoods. We must consider the impact of light pollution. even though somebody told me, don't worry, the lights are only going to be on at night. Bright industrial lighting operates overnight will affect nearby homes, in some cases, literally in a resident's backyard. Excessive lighting disrupts sleep, changes the rural character of the area, and harms wildlife that rely on natural darkness for migration, feeding, and survival. Another major concern is the fueling process associated with this operation. After a quick internet search, I discovered that Badger daylighting trucks are generally fueled at local branch offices or via commercial fueling networks. Does that mean that fuel lines and pumps are going to be at this location? As we know, fuel storage and handling always carries risks, and even small incidents can have lasting consequences for nearby land and waterways. Residents deserve transparency on how these risks will be managed and monitored. From what I've seen, these trucks hold over 1,300 gallons of water each. We need clear answers on where this water will come from. Evidently, Kevin North said in an email, not from Kevin, but after he talked to somebody, they'd be coming from well water. All of our property is on well in our subdivision, in the one across the street, and in the houses across the street. That's going to be detrimental to our water table. The environmental impact cannot be ignored. Increased emissions, noise, and industrial activity can damage natural habitats, reduce biodiversity, and permanently alter landscape. Once wildlife is displaced, it often cannot return. We must also ask what this project truly brings to the community. From what we understand, Badger daylighting will provide little meaningful revenue to justify long-term costs that the residents will bear through increased traffic, environmental risks, noise, and infrastructure strain. That is not a fair trade for the people who live and invest here. And going back to the traffic, it's stated that they're not going to make U-turns, that they're going to take alternate paths and take right turns as much as needed to avoid U-turns. I don't know how they're going to do that because from my understanding, Gauger coming off of 355 is not a truck route. 151st is not a truck route. So even if they did do that, they'd be bringing and coming into the community way further than they need to come. Finally, I want to remind our elected officials why they were chosen to serve. Decisions like this should reflect the voices and concerns of the residents who will live with consequences long after tonight's meetings and these decisions. Leadership means listening to the community and making decisions based on what residents want and what's truly best for this area. This is not opposing progress. It's about ensuring growth is responsible, transparent, and sustainable. Development should never come at the expense of public safety, environmental health, or the well-being of people who call this community home. I urge you to fully evaluate these impacts, listen carefully to residents, and require comprehensive environmental and traffic studies before moving forward. Our community deserves thoughtful planning and not rushed decisions with permanent consequences. Thank you for your time.
Greg Hom?
Yes. My name is Greg Hall. I've lived in Cedar Glen for 38 years, and I have a hard act to follow. I think these two people, the first gentleman and Joyce, have hit the nail on the head, per se. My major concerns and my feelings, I have nothing against Badger. I've seen their facility in Shanahan, nice facility. I just think that this actually belongs in an industrial setting, not on 159th Street. Our master plan for years has called for restaurants, office buildings, stores, things of community. I believe that these are probably very well-run businesses. These gentlemen are doing what they need to do for their business, their families, everything. But I would strongly encourage them to look at industrial property where you're not next to the Moose Park, you're not next to the Forest Preserve right behind you. You know, the fear we have is also that right now they only want to utilize approximately half of the property. What does the other half look like in the future once this high C5 rating becomes the law of the land. So that's, water table, like Joyce mentioned, is a major concern. If you're pulling out of our wells, a lot of the wells in our community are only 150 feet deep. And if you're pulling 1,300 gallons a truck times whatever number of trucks times a week, times a year, I think we're going to have problems. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, Steve Rowledge Sr.
Well, I got two different topics, but I think the first one will be the Badger trucking. If you go back in time, Jim and Vince weren't on the county board at the time. I was fighting against letting that storage unit come in, that's in there, and it was zoned industrial. I don't know if everybody knows that. It's zoned industrial right now. And then after I pointed out to the county, that's why I was against it, because it was industrial. That means that everything else around it can become industrial. Everything. So I got the county to change the ordinances to make everything around it commercial. So now everything that goes in there has to be commercial, unless they go for a variance and make it industrial. But now when you go to a court, and this is what's going to happen at the county level, they're going to apply for it. You guys are going to probably put up the big fight about it, and then there's going to be all this commotion, and they could lose. If they lose, they go to court. The court says you got industrial over there with the storage unit. And remember, there was only 3 county board members at the time that voted to stop it. The whole rest of the board said no. It's Julia Gallo and myself, and I forgot the other person. But there was 3 of us that said no. Now 159th Street has industrial zoning. Homer Glen is talking about multi-use, multi-purpose zoning up by Twin Lakes. The state of Illinois passes a law that says you have to let affordable housing come in wherever you want with no zoning change, anywhere you want. Okay, so when you go to a court, you're going to have all these obstacles. And so this is where the county board's going to have to look at it. We're going to have to decide, is this worth our while to go to court and fight it? Can we win? Well, they're going to point out that Kettler is right up there, right off of Parker. Right? That's trucking. Lockport's going to build a data center more than likely, and we're going to have more problems than you ever dreamt of because there's brownouts from the data centers. They need all of our electric. So I've been fighting that too. But we have a lot of problems coming up. This is just one of them. But this one's complicated because people are saying that we didn't want this. Well, just what I just said. You go to a court and the judge says, well, this is zone industrial. There's already a trucking company here. Then you got the pool place. So, I mean, you go down the list, can we win in court? And that's where the battle's going to be for us on the county board. And I don't know how it's going to come out. But I'm just letting everybody know that starting out, for me, do I want affordable housing over there or do I want a trucking company? Do I want all the kids flooding our schools or do I want a trucking company? So either one. Which,
It's not
you're not even trying to be Solomon. You just hold your hand up. Which one do you want? But that's where we're at. So that's bad. And the last thing I wanted to say is, I'm listening to these guys about their cost for their job. They're underpaid to begin with. When we were at the township, they were underpaid. And we kept giving them raises to try and get them up to where everybody else was. And they still never got up there. And now they're talking about what you guys are, I don't know if you're going to do it or not, but to cut their pay more by making them pay for their insurance. It's like, okay, you might as well say, well, we don't even want to have assessors anymore. You know what I'm getting at is it's just ridiculous the way they're good employees. Just like you guys are doing a good job as trustees, you do your best. And you shouldn't have to worry about not being able to come to work. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. I'm just like shocked that it's even a topic. You know, so why are we even considering that? There should be, I was a supervisor, so I could go on and on about budgets and levies and what we did. But there should be enough money in the budget where you don't have to do that. And you know, maybe you just don't give them a raise, even though they deserve a raise. But to make them pay 30%, I don't know what the exact number is, but my guess is it's somewhere like between $7,000 and $10,000 minus what they make, and they don't already make enough money compared to the rest of the townships. So, you know, with that, I'm not going to say much more, but I'm just like, why? And the other thing is going to be really a mess, so hold your hats. But God bless everybody.
Okay, Rick?
You don't have to try.
Huh?
You don't have to try.
Thank you.
So, I am about the Badger construction, and unfortunately I was asked about an hour ago to speak, so best of luck with this. It's fine that they want to build a facility, but there's industrial parks that have the water lines and the roads that can handle the weight. I lived on the southwest side of Chicago in the suburbs. I moved out here because it's quieter. There's more nature. There's nicer people. There's all of this. I've worked with heavy machinery. I've worked in trucking. I don't know if people realize that, 6 o'clock in the morning in the winter, you don't just fire up a dump truck and you roll out of the yard. You have to let those run and warm up. And you're going to have 35 to 80 of those running at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning. If there's a wall of burn, it doesn't matter. If you have 80 trucks running at the exact same time for an hour warming up, that sound's just going to travel. And then that'll screw up the environment and the animals because you're having all that sound go off all at once. And then you're going to have them all roll out at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, all onto the road, disrupting everything else. I lived around that. I know how loud it gets. I don't care what wall you put up. I lived by a highway that had a wall next to it. You still heard the highway. It doesn't matter. It dampers the noise. You still hear it. I hear 355 from our bedroom window. And we live right here, and we can hear 355 on a clear night. And you're going to put a trucking company a half a mile away from my window. It's less than that. That's why they make industrial parks for industrial work. This is a residential community. And what happens when our wells do tap out? Are they going to come around and spend 30 grand to drill us a new well because they sucked up all of our water? No, they don't give a shit. Excuse my language, but you know what? It's 30 grand I don't have. And what? Do we get a tax break? No. Do we get anything? No. We just get more noise, less forest, less wildlife. For nothing. And again, and as Joyce said, yeah, they're not going to make U-turns. So they're just going to make right turns all over and screw up traffic all over Homer and Lockport. Who's going to pay for the roads? The taxpayers. And when that keeps getting tore up, oh, well, look at all this construction work we have. We have to raise taxes because now we have to build more roads. And we have to change the road infrastructure. So that just costs us again. Where does it end where it's going to keep costing us over and over again because they want to move in? Like, I'm just a regular guy, and I've dealt with all this crap. I work in an industry that has to get special licensing for where I work. It's a hassle. So I don't know why they can't find a facility that handles what they do. I don't know, I just find it insane. Because they probably don't live in an area like that where they have to worry about any of this. I mean, I love where I live, I love my neighbors, but I don't want to hear sound all day. Like, oh yeah, it's only in the morning, it's only at night. No, you have trucks coming in and out all day. Someone has only a 2-hour shift. Boom, you got a truck coming in. You got another truck coming in 45 minutes later, over and over and over. A lot of us travel 159th to come home. So between what, 2 and 6 o'clock, we're gonna have to deal with all of these trucks trying to turn in? That's not fair. You can't widen the road. You can't put a turn lane in. So you're gonna screw up at least one lane. And if anyone's ever had to move a dump truck, you don't just stay in the right lane, you turn in. You have to swing, and you're gonna take up the other lane to try to make that turn into your yard. So you just screw up traffic now for everybody on top of it. And then whatever they drop on the road, what if windshields crack because they lose rock off the back end? Yeah, they put those signs up that say, oh, be careful, we're not responsible for falling debris or falling rock. It doesn't matter. If it bounces up and hits your windshield, now we have to pay for that. Like it never ends. Like, that's why there's industrial parks that handle all of this crap, that can clean up all of this stuff. I can see that I'm out of time. You're looking.
Yeah. I just wanted to wrap it up.
No, yeah.
Thank you. Hey, Joanne.
Maybe change the subject. I live in Founders Crossing, senior community, and I'd like to address the fact that you had a professional come during the week last week, an exterminator, to come out and do a hit and miss job, when our maintenance guys can do a better job. That was a waste of money as far as I'm concerned. The carriage lights on the garage that you're installing are another waste of money, because the street is now darker in a senior community. Not good. I heard it was for something called dark sky, so we don't interfere with nature. Forget nature. How about us? You know, the seniors who pay rent. Speaking of rent, I would like to know what you do with our rent. You know, the approximately $375,000 a year that we pay. None of the projects have been finished, not one of them, in our community. Where is our money going? Everybody wants to know, because we all talk. Thank you.
Hey, Karen Worth.
I'm here to talk about the budget situation in the assessor's office, and luckily Steve did a lot of my work for me, thank you. I didn't have a lot of numbers, but I had a strong feeling that they weren't overpaid already. There are two levels here. One is the integrity of the service that they provide to Homer Glen. My husband and I have a real estate business office in New Lenox, and we've lived here 38 years, always been great, always been responsible. But when it comes down to the people that work there now, I don't know if you, I'm not that familiar with the budget, shame on me, but I'm not. I don't know if you have a lot of debt left from the previous administration that you're trying to cut salaries to help pay off that debt. I'm not sure. But that is the last place I would look unless it was absolutely necessary. Because it doesn't matter if they're trying to start a family or they're seniors or whatever the situation is, 30% is a lot. And given the fact that they were not paid, you know, at the top of the scale for similar jobs, that's a killer. So I think Debbie and Steve have pretty much covered what I was going to say, but I ask you to think twice and look somewhere else first. That's all.
Okay, that's it for public comment. Okay, moving on. Approval of minutes. We have the March 9th, 2026 minutes. Right, so if I could have a motion first.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion Severs, trustee Severs, second.
I'll second it.
Second trustee Marson. Any discussion? And I have one. On item number 7, it says there is a Veterans Committee meeting on February 11th. It should read March 11th. So I would like to amend the minutes to say March 11th. Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the amended minutes from March. Okay, trustee Severs
I'll second.
and trustee Marson. Supervisor Steinman? Aye. Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Marson?
Aye.
And trustee Severs? Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, next is the minutes from March 26th, 2026, of the special board meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from March 26, 2026, special board meeting.
Trustee Gray? I'll second. Second by trustee Severs. Any discussion? Okay, Supervisor Stylin?
Yeah.
Aye. Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Marson?
Aye.
And trustee Severs? Aye. Okay, and the minutes from special board meeting on April 6th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the special board meeting of April 6, 2026. I'll second.
Okay, trustee Gray and trustee Marson. Oh, any discussion? Supervisor Stylin? Aye. Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Marson?
Aye.
And trustee Severs? Aye. Wait a minute. What was that? April 14th. That was the one we just did? I thought we just
That was
did
April
No, we
6th.
did April 6th. Okay, so now we're on the board one. Okay. So the minutes from April 14th, regular board meeting. Can I have a motion to approve those?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Severs,
Second.
second by trustee Gray. Any discussion? And I have two things. And that's on the last page, 7 of the minutes. I would just like to remove under item 11 where it says minutes for ultimate approval in open session. I don't know what that's about, and I don't think that was part of that discussion. And then on item 14, it said return to full business wage report. I think what it said was budget preparation. It was managed report. If I could amend that to reflect those two changes. I will motion to have the changes made. Okay, trustee Severs
No, I'm on my second also.
and trustee Gray. Supervisor Stylin? Aye. Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Marson?
Aye.
And trustee Severs? Aye. Okay, moving on to reports from township officials. Trustees first. So trustee Gray?
I have a question before we go on. I have minutes for April 27th in my packet.
Oh, they're not on the agenda.
Does anybody else have minutes for April 27th?
Yeah,
But
they
it's
are
not on
here.
your agenda?
It's not on the agenda, so we can't. do it like that. So I'm missing it. Yeah. Okay. Moving on then. Trustee Gray, do you have a report?
I do. I just want to let everybody know we're having our Veterans Committee meeting this Wednesday in the town admin building on 151st Street. Wednesday, the 13th at 7 p.m. We're going to discuss our cooperation with the village of Homer Glen and doing the salute to the veterans during Homerfest. Homerfest is June 25th to June 28th this year, and the salute to the veterans will be Sunday at noon, Sunday the 28th at noon. That's open to all vets, active duty, and their families, and as well as the rest of the community, so we're hoping everybody will come on out and honor the veterans in our community. And that's at Heritage Park during Homerfest. And I also wanted to mention that I'm in contact with the Will County VAC, the veterans, their new, the commission's older, but they just moved in some new digs in Joliet, and we're hoping that they're going to come out and present also during the salute to the veterans. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, trustee Marson?
No report at this time.
Trustee Severs?
The only thing I'd like to report on is that this Saturday at the
I'm sorry, not football, but the baseball and softball fields over in Lockport, there is Strikeout Cancer. It is an event that starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, goes pretty much all day long. All 3 levels of softball and baseball will play 2 games. They have a $20 donation, will get you unlimited food and like non-alcoholic beverages. They have probably about 30 to 40 raffle baskets. It's a really fun opportunity to come in, especially if you're an alumni like me, run into a bunch of people that you've probably been seeing in a long time, but it's all for a good for a cause. It's raising money and awareness for a couple of the players that we had that have unfortunately passed from cancer, that were softball players and baseball players. So if you have Saturday free, come out for a good time. Okay, and Clerk O'Brien?
Senior bingo is tomorrow, May 12th at noon. The doors open at 11:30 at Cross of Glory Church. Also, our next senior committee meeting is Tuesday, May 19th at 10 o'clock a.m. at the Township office. Our senior expo will be Saturday, September 12th at Homer Junior High. If you'd like to volunteer or have any other questions, you can just contact us at the Township.
Okay, and Highway Commissioner Robinson.
Nothing to report.
Okay, and Assessor Morella?
Yes, tax bills went out, so our office is flooded with phone calls, emails. It's been crazy. It's okay though. You know, we're there to accommodate anybody needs any help. My staff is great about expediting certain things. A lot of the things that we are finding is people that have moved into the township do not have general homestead exemptions, so if you guys can get to us, we can always try to fix that through the county. That's always been the biggest question. Why isn't my general homestead? A lot of times that's because the home sold and it wasn't captured, because sometimes these sales are not captured through our office. So just be leery with that. We also can talk about your assessed value too. If you guys have any questions about your assessed value, we are more than welcome to come to our office and we can have a conversation about our assessed value. Our office is open. We do answer a lot of questions. I will admit this week and next week are going to be probably the craziest. So if you want to wait a little time, we can still work through some stuff. We don't close our books until June 12th, which then are due to the county by then. So like I said, if you guys have any questions, please reach out. We're here to help in any way. You guys have a great day.
It's my turn. Sorry, it's a long one. This marks almost a year that we've been in office. So I wanted to give just a quick rundown that some of the things that we've done this year. We've spent a lot of time discovering and reviewing files, learning about the history and status of that Civic Community Center building, learning general assistance, hiring several new employees to replace those that retired. We created 3 new committees, the veterans, the seniors, and open space community center. We went through the levying process, learning that as we went along, the budget process, increasing transparency. If you've noticed our board packets, and we tried to be very open with what we put online. We made some improvements to Trantina Farm, adding the mulch and adding new swings, moving the playground. We're working with the scouts to soon have some new benches around the fire pit. We've repaired the dog park shelter, cleaned up Morris Park. There were a lot of old picnic tables and things that needed, and graffiti that needed to be cleaned up. Status of the founders improvements, we investigated that. There was a grant that kind of refurbished half the units, and there is no more grant money. There was like $40,000 left in that grant that wasn't used before we got there, so it was lost. And we checked into retaining the money for the septic system at the Civic Center, and that is going to be going out to bid. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We surveyed the community and had an open house for the community center building. We recently started an email newsletter. I didn't do it the last 2 months only because this budget process has been pretty intense, and we've really examined it closely. We are expecting curb replacements at the Township Admin Building starting work on May 26th. And we've also contracted to seal coat all the parking lots and the driveways at the Founders Apartments. And we're going to tear apart this parking lot and that parking lot and replace those, but that can't be done until we know that the curbs are done. And we did apply for a grant with AARP for new picnic tables, but there were 5,100 grant applications and we didn't win. So, but a lot of times your first time you don't, and we'll try again. And I'll make other comments on the other items on the, that relate to the agenda later. I wanted to point out that there's a foundation that's the Homer Glen Community Nature and Harmony Foundation that is raising money for both the township and village parks, open spaces and trails. And they are having a run on June 13th. There's flyers at the table there. Also, there's a senior survey that's out. I don't have a QR code, but we do have it. We'll have information on the link on our website, and it's also on our Facebook page. We encourage anyone that's 55 and older to, even if you don't consider yourself quite a senior yet, you will be. So we're looking for your input on that. Now I'd like to address the first item about employees. What you spoke on tonight was exactly what you said. It was rumor. And that is the danger of social media and things. And I have not spoken to my employees about anything saying 30% insurance payments. We have not discussed that because the board has not made any decisions. And it's unfortunate that scare and fear was put into the minds. I can't tell you that what we're going to do yet. I don't see raises in the future, quite honestly, but we haven't made decisions. And tonight we are discussing the budget. So if you would like to stick around and hear what that budget is, it was posted online, the tentative budget. You could see the numbers were very transparent. We had 4 budget meetings that we were approving minutes for tonight, and that is because we met as a board and we went over every single line item in the budget. We looked at every actual for the past 6 years for those line items so that we could see where it's accurate, and I will discuss those things later on in the budget. So I would just encourage you to look for the facts before you leave. Also, I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda because we do have a lot of people here that are interested in the zoning case that's going to go before Will County related to the Badger Bay lighting business. So if I could have a motion to move it's item 10A up to right before the action items number 8.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Marson?
Second.
Gray. Trustee Gray.
Supervisor Stryland?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Marson?
Aye.
Trustee Severs?
Aye. Pull that out. So in our packets, we're going to go back. So I included everything in the packet that was given to us from the county. I did attend the pre-application meeting, and I did say that I would come to you with questions. Unfortunately, it was kind of late. I did send a list of questions or concerns over to the county on Friday, and I copied Kevin Norton. So hopefully you got a chance to see that many of those same concerns were mentioned tonight. So I think what I'd like to do is give you a chance to say something.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Kevin North. I'm the general manager for the Upper Midwest with Badger. I'm accompanied tonight by Logan Malott. Logan is our Chief Operating Officer for Badger and also a resident of Homer Glen. And Chris Holtz is our Senior Vice President and Chief Transformation Officer. Heard a lot of feedback, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak and try to answer some of the questions. I'm not sure if I will be able to convince anyone, but I want to make sure that everybody has the information, how we operate, so you can have a better understanding of what we would do. We would not have pursued this opportunity with the 38.6 acres if we felt like there was going to be any detrimental damage to the wildlife, to the neighborhood, or the community. We have plans for noise abatement, light abatement. All of our trucks park under roof, okay? We have 31 trucks in Shanahan. They are under roof. So when we start, we're pulling out of that shop. There is no backing or beeping noise that is accustomed to the commercial vehicle. They're pulling out. There is a beeping noise when they return towards the end of the day and backing back into that building. There's no need for us to warm up the trucks because right now our trucks are in a warm garage. So operators are able to come in, do their pre-trip, clock in, and pull right out. We don't intend to have any fuel storage on site. We use third-party service that comes out on site and refuels our trucks at night. So they pull into our shop, they refill the trucks as necessary. They only touch the trucks that are showing that they eat fuel. And by my calculation, we would be able to contribute about $175,000 annually in fuel tax revenue that's not being captured today. Okay. We've discussed many plans, first of which was to reside in the very back portion of the property, allowing commercial real estate for something to be up front. But we settled upon having road front. We've already had conversations with the Forest Preserve. They are interested in purchasing, and we're interested in selling the portion that we're not going to use. We don't need that much land. We've got 65 employees, 40 of which are local 150 operators. Our operators earn on average $150,000 a year with overtime. So they will be spending money in the community in addition to the rest of us that will work here. As far as the pooling on the diminishing the water table, it was never our intention to disrupt that water flow that's available to the residents. We've got a conversation with the mayor, and we are not opposed to incorporating, which means the city would be providing our water, and we would have use of sewer system. So we don't want to disrupt the neighbors and do anything from that perspective. We're going to be making a multi-million-dollar investment. It's a beautiful facility, yes. Everybody can have a beautiful facility, but how you operate it is what matters. We are going to be respectful of that. We will be making right-hand turns. Okay? There will be some additional traffic. As I mentioned, we've got 31 trucks. We don't intend to have the numbers of the volumes of trucks that some people have, that I've heard. It doesn't make sense. Our customers pay from the time that our operators leave that shop to the time that they come back at the end of the day. So our goal when we set up branches across the country, and here in Illinois as well, is to make sure that we are as close to our customers as possible. So we don't intend to create a huge hub or staging area. Like I mentioned, we've got 31 trucks. We may end up with 35 at some point. We have half a dozen pickup trucks. That we will have ample gates. Our intention is to light up the area just around the building, really with motion detectors. We have no reason to have lights on after hours. We'll have a security system if there is an issue. I think, outdoor storage, pickup trucks in the very back of the building. We intend to create a retention pond for the stormwater runoff and the water that's collected there. We intend to use that soil to create a very nice berm that will back up to the subdivision and plant foliage. There is going to be noise at times, but not to the point to where it's going to exceed the property that we created working with our architects and engineers. So we want to be a good citizen. We wouldn't be here if we weren't. With Logan being a resident of Homer Glen and our chief operating officer, we wouldn't do anything to damage the township. So that's not our plan. I'm open to questions, whether that's now or certainly.
So from an email I sent to somebody in the land usage department with your name on it, the water for the trucks will be coming from a well, is what you told Alec Van Cat.
That was on Friday, yes.
Okay, so now all of a sudden, maybe it's going to change?
It is going to change because we've heard some of the concerns.
Okay.
And our goal is to try to listen and hear from what your concerns are to...
And there's going to be...
Ma'am, this is not the time. I know
He
he
didn't
said...
open the question.
No, that was him. I'm the one leading the meeting.
Oh,
Okay,
great.
So I have to have control over the meeting.
Okay.
All right. So you're done speaking right now. What I would really like is some of the board members to have an opportunity to ask questions first.
I have a few questions, yeah. And Mr. North said that you had conversations with the mayor about annexing in to get the water and sewer. That's with the village of Homer Glen?
Yes.
Okay. And where are you at?
We just had initial inquiries from Joe, the village administrator, and I talked to the mayor as well. Sorry, Caswell, the attorney for the applicant, with regard to that, and talking about the process and time. At this time, they had already began with the county that made the filing of applications and didn't want to in any way slow down that process. Fully open to, if it's time, beginning that process, carrying forward with it. One thing I would like to point out about the water situation, and like Kevin just said, they're operating about 70% of 30 trucks on any given day, about 21 trucks or so. And if they use 1,000 gallons a day, okay, that's 21,000 gallons, okay. If you, and just to, and I live on Well and Septic just off of Parker Road here, I understand it, okay. Based on average usage of 75 to 76 gallons a day, which is what your local sewer plants and water plants rely on, 70 lots in Cedar Glen average about 20,000 gallons a day, and that's just that subdivision. So this is not an overwhelming amount of water, even if that were the case, okay? But yes, absolutely, we're open to continuing that process, okay, as far as the annexation.
You're talking about 21,000 gallons to fill out the trucks at their initial outset, but what about clean out at the end of the day? Don't you use water then to clean those?
They're usually it's for a washout, yeah. Even you're not using 1,000 gallons for the washout, you know. And they do the best they can to. They want to get rid of that product off-site. So first of all, only clean fill could ever possibly come back. But the goal is to not to have any of it come back, because that costs them money. If so, they're just bringing it back temporarily until they can get it somewhere else. Most of it's included, and especially if there's any sort of contamination whatsoever, zero of that ever comes back. That is gone by manifest to an approved disposal facility, as well as most of the material itself, unless used for filling the road site. They don't want to stockpile material long term. They won't be stockpiling material long term.
Okay, and you also mentioned, Mr. North, $175,000 in fuel tax revenue. To who? To the village of Homer Glen, the state of Illinois, to the county?
No, at this, it's not in the village of Homer Glen right now, so they wouldn't be getting a share. It's, at this point, it'd be the state and the county at this point. That's where that goes. If it became incorporated, then that would be the state, a little bit to the county, and a bigger chunk to the village.
So my last point that I just want to make is, I mean, I hope everybody in the audience knows, you know, this is a courtesy from Will County to the township board. They reach out to us because this is an unincorporated piece of land, so there's really no lot court to stand up for that piece of property, no Homer Glen. So it comes to us, but we don't have any real authority on it. All they look to us for is input. What do we think of this project? What do we think of the parameters? This is a big project. That's why Supervisor Steinle, much to her credit, put it on the agenda so we could fill this room. I mean, honestly, like she said, we've been here almost a year. This room has never been full, and so it's a real testament that, you know, this word got out. This is everybody's opportunity to tell these gentlemen, you know, and they are gentlemen. They've answered our questions. They've been nothing but respectful and polite, as well as our county board members who are in the room. How we want them to vote, because they're the ultimate authority on this. It'll go to the land use first, I believe, and then ultimately to the county board. So that's why we also invite the county board members to be in the audience, so they can hear all you guys and say, hey, this is what the input is from the most impacted residents. So thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Supervisor Steinle, for putting it on the agenda, and thank you to the Badger people for it.
I'm sorry, I have one question, I know, it's just a quick question. I
Just
No,
wait
it's
till,
just because I just have one question for them, and then I'll shut up the rest of the time, because I don't know if I have an opportunity to ask a question.
you will.
I'm not, but I
I'm
just want
going
to
to ask that you just wait till the board. I know it's hard, but I think.
No, that's fine, I apologize.
Okay.
I didn't know if there would be another
Yeah.
open
So
Q&A.
we'll just wait till we hear
Yeah.
from everybody else, okay? And maybe you'll get an answer, I don't know. And did you have anything?
Yeah, so the 35 trucks, is that going to go up after time, or is it just the initial, or you just tell us?
No. No, it doesn't make sense for us. We charge by the hour. We are very expensive. Our customers want to pay for time on site. So we try to locate multiple branches in areas to where we don't have that trucking hub, so to speak, where we're, sending people out to Arlington Heights or, far distances. So we're providing just the number of trucks that will service the area here. Badger works for municipalities as well as utility companies, contractors, trying to safely uncover utilities, lines, and so forth. So it doesn't make sense for us to charge hundreds of dollars an hour, $400 or $500, $600 in mobilization. So that's why we try to be closest to our customers. We don't have just mega branches. Doesn't make sense.
Just on the traffic, if your trucks are coming off 355 and they're going to get back to the shop and they're heading east, they would have to do a U-turn at Cedar. There's no way to decide to the truck.
Or they have to get off at a different exit. Like,
So,
let's say if they got off at 6 and they had to.
Yeah, so they have to get off at 6, come back around, and you're willing.
And the comment with regard to truck routes may be a little bit of a misnomer. When they say truck routes, those are truck routes that are rated, as Highway Commissioner knows, for 80,000 pounds trucks. We're not dealing with that here, okay? We're dealing with about a max of a 60,000 pound truck. So we're just saying you can't go on Jogger because it's not a truck route. That's not the issue.
Right, but to make, I don't think your trucks are going to be able to make that.
Right, so they may have to get off at a separate exit, yeah.
So they would have to go all the way to 6 and then come back to make that turn into the parking lot.
It's illegal for a commercial vehicle in excess of 22 feet to make a U-turn.
Right, okay. And then with I agree with the lady sitting right here, I'm sorry, Joyce. I think from looking at the numbers with the water usage, I mean, that would be a concern, I think, for anyone, especially if you're on a well. That's a lot of water. And we don't want to see anyone on a well except if we're out of water because we cater to the business and, Homer Glen, Homer Township, the county, whatever it is. So I agree. I think the water is a little bit of concern if you're going to pull from the well. So is there any way that outside water could be brought in?
The only thing I would say is that, and then, because we're going to be reviewed by the village too, is we're open to consideration of pre-annexation agreement or that commitment at that time. So at the best, it could only be transitional.
But I'm talking if the annexation doesn't happen.
So there are situations where we go off-site and set up arrangements with municipalities, have a meter for a fire hydrant, so to speak, and tap in or pull off of that hydrant and high fill. So there are those arrangements today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Where is this disposal site that you normally would be offloading contaminants at?
We have about 45 in the greater Chicago area, most of which are all clean soil sites. We use 1 or 2 landfills where we know that's going to be a manifested load. It'll have contaminants. The difference between our truck and a dump truck, so to speak, it's a closed vessel. Okay, so that material's in there. You're not going to have the spillage. You're not going to have the road hazards that are typically created from, open top trailers that aren't covered. But we have a whole host of facilities that we take material to that they use in their processes as well.
And then the other question I had is like, why this spot? Like, why on 159th Street, Homer Glen? I mean, because it kind of seems like logistically, logistically it sounds difficult for your operations, you know, trying to make left-hand turns, U-turns, or I'm sorry, right-hand turns, and U-turns, and it just seems like this would be more appropriate, like in an industrial park environment.
And I can speak to that, Cass, because I've worked with Logan for a while, planning. In fact, we've looked at a lot of sites, and there aren't a lot of 12, 13 acre spots in industrial parks on major corridors. With regard to like 159th, you say, okay, this is a country area, whatever, but it's, according to the state, it's a 20,000 car a day road that's built to that standard. Now, with what IDOT did and not having a curb cut particularly there, that part's not ideal, but the location itself, the access to 355 and being on a designated arterial like that is good, you know. And with regard to the location on the particular property, you know, if, and they discussed with the owner, hey, can we just buy, you know, this front 12 acres? That wasn't in the cards. So this literally, when you talk about what portion of the property that they're using, if you look at it, it's about the lower third, okay? It's a 38 acre parcel. So the discussions would have been, and there's no other access or road going back to the back. You know, the only access would have to go right directly off 159th, and that's nowhere in the plans. And so they don't have any use for that back property per se, and that's why the discussions with the Forest Reserve District came into play as far as that portion of the property. There is no wooded property. Somebody says taking out forest. There is no wooded property being destroyed except scrub trees along the fence line. Going up against the moose there. So that's as far as the location. So in your front, most of the front zoning from C2 to C4, that was the C2 property, I'm sorry, and then a small portion what would have been the R2 designated area. And again, butting up against I-1 to the west.
I have a question regarding starting the engines early in the morning. It takes a while. Is that true? Do they take, I mean, is there diesel engines?
They are diesel engines, yes. As I mentioned, all our trucks are under roof. And because at some point they may have water residue, we don't want anything to freeze. Okay? We also want to make sure that we're not asking our employees to do a pre-trip in a brutal Illinois winter. So everything that we have, and you can see that at our facility today, are parked under roof. And it is temperature controlled. So it's a warm building. There is not the need for us, as you might have with a typical 18-wheeler or something that's parked outside extended periods of time, to have it idle. That's unnecessarily.
So when you say under roof, you're talking about in that building, that smart office on the plan?
It's a 24 to 28,000 square foot building, so you have a small office component, but most of it is for the storage of the trucks. And you say, why are they storing all these trucks on the road? These aren't your basic tractor trailer. These are approaching $1 million vehicles, each of them, you know.
So again, you can fit the 35 trucks in there, or is there a, what's the capacity, how many trucks you can fit in there?
So that number is going to vary depending on the size of the truck and type of truck. There may be a few trucks that we park out back that we're not utilizing.
Okay.
So those vehicles would not be started regularly. We would designate those as spares. Everything that we're going to use on a regular basis is going to be parked under roof.
So the sound would be inside?
Correct.
Okay. And then the water, you do know how much Illinois American water costs?
I'm aware.
Okay. All right, you're prepared to pay.
You have to see
pay that water bill.
Kevin alluded to the costs that it takes for their customers to hire them with their cost to their own employees isn't just the $65 an hour on their check. They've got another $60 in benefits on it. The cost of these services, when compared to the water cost, is a small portion.
And then you had mentioned the potential of the Forest Preserve buying the north portion of the property. What if they don't buy it?
If they don't buy it, When we went to the county, okay, and these guys were only looking, first of all, like I told you, when he talked to the Laponis family, we were only looking to buy the front whatever acres, okay, and that was not in the cards. When there was a discussion, it was the first article, hey, could we just propose a split zoning and leave the back R2 or A1 or whatever it may be? County's like, no, you can't do that under one ownership, because then, so the thought at that time was that if it's residential, maybe somebody could connect where the road ends at Cedar Glen and they could build more nice big houses up there or something. So all that was discussed. What came back from the county is that we can't do split zoning right now, okay? And so all we have as far as our site plan is simply showing that there's no access back there, and then we continue down the path of enforcement.
So we have the elected officials from Homer Glen here, so I'd love to give them a chance to ask some questions. So let's start with...
Well, I'm going to pause right there because there is 4 of us, and I think it's a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Okay.
We didn't post it. And I know Mr. Shallerhurst spoke, although I believe he spoke as a resident.
I spoke as a resident, not as my official office.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's appropriate since that's why we didn't sign in, is because we don't want to be in violation of any Open Meetings Act discussion.
I would refer them to their village attorney.
Okay, so... And your attorney, yeah,
Well, as long as they don't speak, I mean, I guess it's fine. I just don't know how that would work. There's always a political play when there's, you know.
It's theirs, that I don't want you to violate your open.
I don't want to take the chance of violating any Open Meetings Act. I think the residents I spoke to know where I stand on this.
Okay. And I know what Trustee Mason is asking. Does anyone want to hear some of the audience questions? Okay, so I'd like to give a chance, I don't know, you know, keep this control. I'd like to give a chance to the residents first that live in Cedar Glen to be able to ask their questions. And I think you said...
Yes, it's
Oh.
I got a question for you, sir. All right. You said $175,000 is going to come back to Homer Glen.
No, he said it was $175,000 in total.
Tax. All right. Let me ask you something, sir.
To the county.
Let me ask you something. Where's that tanker going to fill up? The BP down the street? The Speedway? Now he's going to have to get his tanker filled up at the refinery. And where's that money go to? To that area. So I don't understand how you're going to... that comes out to $30,645.83 a week.
So I pay for fuel at the location in which it's being filled. That's how it works today. They are coming out on site to fuel my truck, so I pay at the point of where the location where my truck is.
At your location.
Okay.
All right. Second question.
No.
Oh, wait. It's about the water, ma'am.
No, you
They need to hear about
asked
this.
me the question.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. May I ask this question?
What's the question?
All right. Your water situation. All right. You're going to have a wash bay. You got to wash those trucks. You're going to wash all that contamination down. Are you going to have a contamination area to accommodate that so that can get pumped out so it doesn't go into our well system?
So typically, sir, what we do, one, it's a closed vessel. So after we go to one of the multi-sites that we use, they typically have a hose and contamination area on site at that property. So if we have to wash the vessel, it's done right there. We use various wash companies such as Blue Beacon, and our operators can go there to wash trucks rather than doing them on site. At $125 an hour, I don't want my operators washing trucks.
That's not what he's asking. He's asking if you do wash the trucks.
No, answer comments, please.
Not on site.
It's the question on you. He's not answering the question.
He just said, not on site, not on site.
So you never take a hose at any of your trucks at any time?
No.
You're full of shit.
No,
because that's correct.
This has to stay controlled.
It is controlled, but they are honest.
No, we're not going to be calling, we're not going to be using that language for starters. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
I'll give an opportunity to another resident of Cedar Glen.
You mentioned you're gonna have a detention or retention pond on this house. Where is that gonna feed into? The creek, Fetterman Creek behind?
I believe that's where that would feed into.
Okay, so you're gonna be having trucks that were on various sites and salt and all of this coming and going into your detention pond, going into the creek?
No, so, as I mentioned, we wouldn't wash trucks on site.
No, I'm not
So-
washing, driving on the roads during the winter, bringing all that salt back through your parking lot, which is gonna go
Into
drain
our
into the
garage.
detention pond, which is gonna go into the creek. Right?
That is possible.
Is that legal?
And any impervious surface, whether that's the the parking lot, the rooftops at the Meyer, or the Menards, or the store here, or Lenny's gas station, or whatever, goes into a retention area, and anything that is, if you have an internal drain, has to go through a triple basin system and be cleaned out of there before it can ever enter any kind of storm drain. And that's no different at this facility than it is, like I said, at the Meyer, at the school.
Well, wait, they all have a storm sewer system to handle it. Doesn't go into a creek, an open base creek, which then goes into Fetterman Creek. And, I mean, you're talking potential pollution up the wazoo.
So it's not our intention to deliver pollution into the creek, okay? You know, as I mentioned, moving forward in order to get water from the city, tapping into their sewer system is a viable option for us. And it's a preferred option because, again, I hear the dissatisfaction with us tapping into the well water, the water table that's available. So we want to be a good neighbor.
We want you to be a real good neighbor, if you're a neighbor. You know, I mean, we would prefer you be in an industrial park. And I understand if you can't find the land. I'm all conscious of that. But it's going to be a struggle to put your type of business in a rural area and make it work. Because that's where your storm water is going to go, into that creek. And, you know, just by the nature of your business, trucking brings certain issues. Your equipment is meticulous. I've researched it. But there's certain things that you don't control. You know, I mean, if your trucks come in with contamination on them, that is somehow going to end up in the storm sewer system or the storm water system. And once it pollutes, it's over.
So just to point out, if it were a residential building with residents, you may have 100 vehicles or more coming back with that same type of potential contaminant that may, and the system may not be established to handle that.
Right.
So I'm just pointing out, we want to be the best neighbor, and by having a sewer system, we believe that we can control that. My past life in the waste industry, running landfills and hauling companies, I'm very familiar with the EPA, IEPA, running that. So we're going to do everything in compliance to make sure that you know, we're taking care of the environment around us and the nature too.
I'd like to hear from the mayor on
So-
now that they don't have.
Yeah, so I asked the two trustees to leave, so there was no violation of the Open Meetings Act. I guess, I mean, where we stand right now, that's why we came, is to hear more about it. We wanted to hear the questions and answers, because we didn't have all the ins and outs. There was a question about the annexation. Yes, the property owner was supposed to annex in. He agreed to annex in prior to this. So my question would have been, why not, and why wasn't there an annexation prior to this development? But I guess we're here now, so that really doesn't matter. You said you planned on annexing in after, but yeah, the tax revenue from the gas will not go to the village because it's from an outside source. Mr. Balich is correct about some things, about where, yes, it does lie in the county's hands. The village can file a legal objection to this development, which after talking to the trustees individually, I think that's the route they were planning on taking, which then the supermajority would fall into play. But again, we didn't have all these answers previous to tonight's meeting, and there's still two trustees that are missing. So, or three, I'm sorry, three of you guys, three of the trustees missing. So, Our concerns were what were already asked earlier about the U-turns, truck traffic down Gallagher 151st. Those are not truck routes. You're going to get some really hefty fines because the Homer Glen residents do not want trucks on roads that are not truck routes. So you're going to have to come up with a different plan for that. And the turnabout, roundabout area does not allow trucks that large to have the turnaround. So that would be another hiccup for you. The water table is definitely an issue. Tapping on Illinois American Water is going to be very costly. We are putting in our wastewater treatment plant, so we do have an extension line coming in, so that would help the village residents. But on the flip side, it doesn't if you're having all this truck traffic. In your study, it says somewhere between 80 to 120 trucks, which then
Trips.
Trips?
So you're talking about truck vehicles going in and out, so you got the trucks that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Then you've got the regular passenger traffic, and then you got it coming in in the morning for the office people, and out in the morning for the truck people, and the opposite of the way in. That's the estimate of trips.
Okay, I just thought that was maybe a little bit misleading because you said roughly 30 vehicles. I mean, it's really...
just trips. You got...
Right, 180, yeah, somewhere around there.
You gotta go.
Yeah, which is a big increase in the numbers. So I mean, that's basically my comments. I do not have the other three trustees here tonight, so they will be watching tonight's meeting and then come up with their decision. But as where it's at before this meeting, there was going to be a legal objection filed. Okay. Was there other questions or no?
Yeah.
Okay, quick. Well, I don't know who had their hand first.
He did.
Okay, go ahead.
So I don't know how many people did the math on the proposed water gallon usage average, and conservative 20,000 gallons of water a day is over 7 million gallons from our water table every year for one business entity that really brings nothing of value to the residents of Homer Glen compared to the people who, have families here and local businesses that actually contribute via tax revenue in some way, shape, or form. Is just a net loss of how many millions of gallons over 10 years? Like, it's astounding to think about long-term versus they say they don't mind paying city water. They can go to an industrial park and be hooked up immediately to city water or Lake Michigan water and not pull from, this rural area where we all are unwell. It's just crazy to think about those numbers in the grand scheme of things.
I was wondering if they get off on Route 6 before the exit so they don't got to do all those turns on non-truck roads. You're telling me they're going to drive all the way to LaGrange or Harlem just to come up and then head down 150? I'm just confused.
Again, when they talk about truck routes, those are routes that are for trucks up to 80,000 pounds. Even a regular scheduled non-designated truck route, okay, and they're different. The law is a 73-280, and we're talking about vehicles that are 60,000. So no, they don't have to go to 45.
Well, like what road would Gallagher be classified under for weight?
Gallagher has a 7-ton load limit. And 151st Street has a 7-ton load limit.
So if you're talking 60,000 pounds, I guess I didn't use the right verbiage, but I'm talking about roads like that are going to be your right turn roads. So I'm wondering, I'm trying to do it in my head, if you go from Route 6, are you going to have your guys drive all the way down to those bigger roads and then come up 159? It just seems really far out of the way for you guys.
In order for us to be in compliance, which we will always take the path of being in compliance, we're going to do what's necessary to remain on a truck route.
And then I suppose, because if you're already going to just plan on getting off on Route 6 to make that turn over there, I don't know if there's industrial lots for your guys' needs specifically, but there is a lot of, just right off Route 6.
We actually looked there. We actually had.
I figured. So, that's all.
Yeah, I think the concern is we're not going to have definite answers because you can't show us the truck routes. I wouldn't want to see those trucks on Cedar because we just had the deal with the curb. And, there's a lot of traffic there, and it's not really a safe road to have all those trucks running.
Cedar is a truck route.
I know. So if you start adding all those trucks onto Cedar, where the S-curve is, that's, to me, like in a lot of residential properties, that's cool. That's a concern for me. So what I'd like, I'm just trying to think about how to proceed here. We could either look for a resolution to force the county board to do a 3/4 vote, Are,
Well, the village can file a legal objection, the township does not. You can file a resolution.
Right, but I don't think can we do that tonight, Jason? We don't have that on our agenda.
That's correct.
So we're gonna be late to the party because it's gonna be once a month.
well, the public hearing is on the 19th. So is there a way that we would be able to have a resolution before the 19th if we have a special board meeting?
Well, it's on the agenda, just as a new business matter, right?
Yeah.
It's not, so we take serious action on things.
Yeah, but it wasn't for action. Okay, so what we would have to do is have a special board meeting to do the resolution. And the hearing is on the 19th. So,
What I want to know is if we know the village is right, this is just right, it's just our pitch.
okay, so we need to, in order for us to do a resolution, we would, and a resolution isn't going to force them to do it. It's the villages doing a legal objection. Yes.
Which I don't have the three trustees.
She doesn't know
confirm
that
but
yet.
that was the route they were taking as this morning.
Do you have a board meeting this Wednesday? You don't.
This Wednesday we have a board meeting, but it's
Okay.
not on the agenda.
Right.
We're waiting to hear from you guys.
Okay, today is, yeah, you don't have 48 hours either. All right, so I think that we would need a resolution because even if it doesn't force it, it sends a strong message to the council. And I think by then, by the time you have the public hearing, maybe some of these questions could, concerns could be addressed more thoroughly for the county plan commission members and to us and to the village. As a supervisor and a resident of this community, I always feel the residents come first. I mean, I like businesses, but these are the people who are really invested in the community. This is their life savings, this is their homes, this is their dreams, and they're here. So those are my concerns. And I would like to have them addressed. I would like to talk to some of the residents. I asked that you reach out to me. I don't have your names or phone numbers because I'd like to hear from you, like after you've heard what they had to say. Has anything changed your mind? Have you felt more comfortable? Because I do feel that this business is sincere with trying to make things work. I think some of them live in the community, but we hear lots of things from developers and businesses, and then maybe they're good for 2 years, and then 10 years down the road, we've got a different situation. So I'd like to know what assurances there are. So what we need to do as a board is we need to schedule a special meeting in order to make that resolution, and it won't be a long meeting. And I know that board member which probably has something he's going to tell me about plan commission or something.
Yeah, what will happen when it goes to county? They're gonna go to planning and zoning first, and they're gonna be issued a bunch of conditions that they have to follow, otherwise they can't do it. So if you guys come up with conditions, you should make sure you get it to the county, so it goes to planning and zoning, and then when it goes to the full county board, we can add conditions also. And we always ask, every single time we get stuff like this, we ask the company went to the township. It's usually the solar companies. Did you go to the townships? Did they say no? We don't even want to listen to them. You know, but you sit there and listen, but you know what you're going to do already. So you just got to make sure we know what your conditions are. And then we go from there.
That would be in our resolution. So I'm asking, so a 48-hour notice from tomorrow. Thursday would be the earliest. Or do you want to do Friday better?
No, I said, please don't do
Oh,
Friday.
Okay.
And I would really appreciate it having a Thursday, because I'm the supervisor of Linux, and that's our meeting.
Yeah, so Thursday's May 14th. You said that's your meeting?
That's our meeting.
Well, what time, can we do it earlier or later? What time's your meeting at?
The meeting's at 7, we're at 5, right?
The only thing is I know trustee Mark, and we have one trustee already on. You can't do Thursday?
Is it Tuesday or Wednesday?
So Tuesday is the meeting for the planning. So we have to be at 7. There's no one here Monday. Would that be Monday? And you're the one who's going to
Yeah. I can do Friday.
I can do Friday.
I can do Friday. I just don't want to.
Well, I don't like it either, but I think it's important. And that's
You won't be here at all.
You won't be able to.
I will be able to work that
Please don't say that.
Okay, so we are going to meet on Friday this week, which is May 15th at 6:30. Our attorney is going to prepare a resolution for us. We're going to discuss what needs to be in it. And then, so it'll be ready to go, and we'll send it to the county right away. We'll send you a copy in advance. For the county is having a public hearing, and I made a mistake in the supplement materials. The public hearing is Tuesday, the 19th at 5:30 at Will County. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll talk to the village, and we'll just make sure that we're all kind of do the best we can.
It's a record, a legal objection, or you're not doing legal objection to the village, is those aren't due until 48 hours before the county board meeting, not the PCC. So.
But if we want to,
Understood,
if we want the commissioners to, if there's things that we're concerned about, they should hear it.
Understood. I just want to point that out.
Because what happens is it'll go to them, they'll pass it, and then the land use committee will go, well, they didn't object, they didn't have anything, and then our voice isn't heard. So I'm kind of learning that process. So. we'll get it ready before.
10 if they're not
So
speaking.
Monday.
Yeah, I'd also like to reiterate to Supervisor Simon's point, we are not averse to business here. We want to make sure that all the residents are protected as well as the businesses. We want to make sure that we're, through our actions here and the actions we'll take on Friday and maybe the actions that the village will take, that we're speaking to the county board, to all the members, because while we have a few in the room here tonight with us and they're probably, they're on board with what we're all talking about, the county board is made up of 22 different members, from all various aspects of Will County, who might not necessarily see it the same way that we all see this. So, I don't want to come off as negative by doing either our resolution or their legal objections. It's really just a conversation. It's the opportunity for us to continue the conversation with the county board members, telling them our concerns, telling them all of your concerns, and making sure all of that gets in the record so it's all taken into consideration when they ultimately do take up this piece of law.
Can I clarify something too? I said as of this morning, that's where the board's direction was to file a legal objection. Anything can change at any time, just so everybody's aware. There's going to be a discussion at the next board meeting. The residents want to come. You guys are invited as well. Anything can change. Just so if the answer, I think the biggest concern is the truck route, or the route in which the vehicles will take.
No, the water.
I mean, and the water, I'm sorry, and the water.
Because it's,
And the water, you are
if they
correct.
get annexed, if we intend, hopefully, those are all words that show absolutely that they can change things at any time.
100%, I misspoke, but you are correct.
Okay, well said. All right, so that's settled, and now we're going to continue with the rest of our meeting. Moving on. So our first action item, A, is approval of payment for April 2026 bills.
Pleasure meeting you. I respect
Those were just rumors, but they're not saying what's going to happen. Those are just rumors.
17%. Hey, how you doing?
Thank you for your service, sailor. Welcome home.
Been here a long time. I started in 61.
88 to 92.
And I got out in 2002.
God bless you. God bless you.
They paid me.
Huh?
My dad gave me vacation. But I kept all checks.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I stay in?
Yeah. I wish I could have.
From Boone to Route 6 to 150.
But that's a county road. It's not. Essentially, yeah, that's a county road from. Give you advice on your village. I think at least. He would be very displeased with me. It's not hard. I guess the next question is where. See there, just the trips in and out. With the light, I was guarding right to their yard.
Yeah.
They've been outside right now.
Yeah, that's 7.
I live on Honeywood Trucks. Right across the street.
Okay.
No, I know it's
We didn't officially recess, so we're still in the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Oh, that was a meeting?
Okay, we're on item 8A, approval of payment for April 2026 bills. So is there a motion to approve the payment for April 2026 bills, certificate of deposit, equipment and building, boundary crossing bond, Founders Crossing, general assistance, open space, park, road and bridge, and town funds?
Are we discuss anything, or do we have to make a
Well,
motion?
first we make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Trustee
I'll
Johnson,
second.
Trustee Severs. Okay, discussion? Trustee Marson?
I noticed all these phone payments.
Uh-huh.
Are they semi-annual, yearly?
Yearly.
So this is the one time a year that we
Right.
pay, so then it's done.
Yes, so when we did the budget, we actually had the exact amounts to
Right.
accommodate,
Okay.
and that's it.
Okay. Yeah, because I seen all of that, like, okay, it's this, I thought it was yearly, but I just want to make sure.
The nice thing is they broke it out for us for the funds.
Right.
A question came up was, well, now that we have the park fund helping with the community center, should we be telling Torma to change, instead of charging open space so much,
Right.
put it into the parks? I'm kind of like thinking we just leave it for this year. We don't know how, we're going to be joining that park fund quite a bit for everything with the community center this year. So just kind of like leave it as, in the next budget, we would probably adjust, unless anybody has different thoughts differently.
Are you talking about the budget or the payment?
The Torma amounts.
Oh, okay.
We budgeted the exact
Right.
amounts. So next year,
It'll be
the
different.
park fund might be zinged a little bit more than the open
Right.
space fund. Okay, so we had motions and we had discussion. So we're going to call the roll.
Supervisor Stone?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Marson?
Aye.
Trustee Severs?
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on. Discussion and approval to post the Homer Township tentative budget with Founders Crossing, bond funds, Founders General Assistance, open space, park, town funds for fiscal year April 1st, 2026 through March 31st, 2027. Okay, so we did something a little bit different this year. In the past, and you could tell what the past was done if you look at the road district budget. When they would present the budget, they would present the three past, the current year and the past 2 years' budgets. What we did is we changed that so that people could see the budget that was for 25, 26. And then there's a column for the actual amounts. And then our proposed budget. It was a little, we did run into a few problems, like what's confusing is when you see the bills every month, you see the certificate of deposit. And the certificate of deposit is really part of the town fund. And what had been done, and we're working on correcting this, is that every year our certificate of deposit gets interest. So we have a $250,000 certificate of deposit, and it gets roughly $11,000 a year interest. So you brought up the new, and we gave everybody a copy. So we found an error on the copy that's in the book. Okay, this is it? Yeah.
Everybody got a copy.
Everybody should have one of these. So if you go to the town fund page, on here, I got my first page. It's several pages. Don't worry at the back. Okay, it has it'll show you that for 25, 26, it has the balance beginning, at the beginning of the year was $683,370, or $870.39. And then it shows the certificate of deposit is $261,253.74. And then there was, if you looked at the budget last year, they didn't budget the interest. And so it threw the numbers off if you looked at the one that was in the packet. So we corrected that. And so we actually will start out this year with $632,053.55 with a certificate of deposit of $273,000, and we anticipate getting $12,000 in interest based on the interest rate and the amount of the CD. If you look at the end of the budget, and I think this is particularly, we are showing at the end of the year for the town fund, which covers the assessor's office and all of the admin expenses. We are showing an ending balance of $204,000. That's not even our certificate of deposit. So if we were to spend everything that we budgeted, we would have to cash in our certificate of deposit. But we do know that when we budget for items, we are always under budget. But and there's things in the budget, like we have capital reserve of, the assessors have a capital reserve of $10,000. We have we have a senior housing deficit reserve of $50,000 and a contingency of $25,000. So if we never touch those, we won't have to do anything to the certificate of deposit. But what people have to understand is this is really a dire budget, because to start out the new year with only $204,000 when our payroll for every month is, the total amount needed to do 2 months of salaries is $356,000. And that is, so we would be, because we don't get the levy until mid-May, end of May, so we have to have enough money to cover those salaries. And we're not leaving that amount of money in the fund. So we have to, not spend this money, but the problem is you have to appropriate money in order to spend the money. So we put money in those items so that if those expenses come up, we've already said we've set the money aside for that. Do you guys understand what I'm saying now?
It makes sense, but it's convoluted because it's just a long way of saying of doing this. Like you said, if we don't appropriate the money, we can't spend it, which is true and not true. Because if something came up later on and we did not have something appropriated, we could always redo our budget.
Correct.
And we'd have to publicize it and go through the hearing again and do all of this again.
Correct.
Which is why some of these numbers are in there. But I think if I might have a moment.
Yes, go ahead.
I think what we uncovered in all of the budget meetings that we had was that there's structural problems. The amount that we levy is $1.3 million, and we're right up against that, if not over that, on what we're spending on personnel, on everything. So it's kind of like something's got to give. I know the former supervisor's here, and he loves the tax cuts that he did, and everybody loves tax cuts, but you might have gone too far, to be honest with you, because you put us in a perilous position. So, not that we're going to raise taxes, but we have to make the best of what we now have. We've made a pledge that we won't raise them as well. But the cuts may be too far. I'm a graphic artist, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a financial person, but anybody can see that numbers don't lie. When you have a certain amount of personnel, you have a certain amount of contractual obligations, and the revenue side of things is not coming up.
And I did research as well as far as looking at other townships. And this is new for Homer Township to show a balance at the end. But every township budget that I looked at, showed a balance. They didn't do this. And what they show when they publish their budget, they show the actual, yes?
I got a question if you don't mind.
Oh, I'm sorry. I looked this way and I don't know what's that way.
So the proposal for 2020, to end of 2027 is you guys are going to have an ending balance of 204,000. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
So the actual for this year is 905? I thought that's what,
Yeah, we're starting out the year. Well, because yeah, that's a good question. So, but if you added up all of these figures, that's how it comes up. So that's what's all in the budget. So last year, I mean, well, if you
well, because I'm looking at a budget line item and then I'm looking at the actual line item, and I'm just, if I just looked at the assessors, I could see the difference, but we budgeted where we were a shortfall of $11,000, but then if you look at the actual, we have 905. That doesn't make sense, does it? I'm questioning because it doesn't make sense.
well, I invite you to find it.
It's on the last page of the
No, but you're looking at the assessors, you're saying.
So if you go down from the assessors, you go to the actual summary where you're
Where the beginning of balance is.
and then you have your total income.
But the total income is, our levy is 1.325, or not even. You know, we have extra money coming from other sources, you know.
So then what does this ending balance of March 31st represent?
That represents if we take our income that we budgeted.
Okay, that's what I'm asking, that's what I was, because I was
Okay,
confused by
the
that.
income that we budgeted, and we take the expenses that we budgeted. Which, as I said, you know, that yours are, like you said, you're like usually 10% over.
So yeah, so you're saying that's a shortfall of the $40,060 going into the new year? That's-
Yeah, like if you see this, it, you know, like.
It just looks very unrepresentative to
Yeah,
what
so-
that number is. Looks like we have, doesn't look like we had a shortfall, it looked like we had, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't look.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it too, because, but if you look at what was budgeted last year, it looked like that there was going to be $945,000 loss.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, but if you looked at the actual, it was a $40,000 loss. So, because there is so much padding in each line item. But even with that padding in the line items, that's why we have to like really be careful, because this would be a worst case scenario. And we have to be aware of the worst case scenarios, because we don't want to be there.
Yeah, because you're showing a loss of $700,000 going.
Yeah, and you know, like, so, but there are some, you know, expenses, as I said, like you know, are you going to use your $10,000 capital reserve? Are we
supposed to have
you know,
6 years of it, so.
Yeah. So, and we're not going. I mean, what is the likelihood that we're going to have to touch the founder reserve fund? You know, so there are some things in there that they had to be budgeted. So, but it's still going to be close, and this is what's quite concerning. And if you looked at the way the budgeting system was done before, it was like so much money was thrown in that budget, and then so much, you know, like what turned out to be actual, like the total income that was budgeted in 25, 26, which we didn't. They said that there was going to be $2,244,000 in income, when actual was $1,200,000. So, you know, like to deal with numbers like that, you know, we just trying to bring it down to what, same thing, they also overestimated the expenses to $3 million when they were only 1.3. So we're just trying to get it as close to what the reality is, but it is kind of scary. But if you look at the financials, but after we end up, I took all of the balances for each fund, at the end of the year, the township would have $1.1 million total, you know, like, but I went and looked at the DuPage Township, I looked at Lamont, Lamont was low. I looked at New Lenox, I looked at Lockport, I looked at Troy, I looked at a lot of those townships, they have balances of $4 million. You know, they have millions of dollars. You know, they don't compare to what we have. And that's why they're able to offer all of those services. But, you know, this is what we have to work with. So,
And are there levies higher than ours?
Yes.
Oh.
Much
that
higher.
makes sense.
So, Lockport's is probably, a lot higher. And that's why their salaries are higher. They're able to, they have 3 buses for their seniors. We have none, but this is a long history of Homer Township. Just was a rural community that people didn't want taxes. They didn't care about having a lot of services. Now we have a population that seems to be demanding services more because they've come from communities that had services. But we captured the growth, which gave us about $18,000, I think. But even, you can only, even if you were to raise taxes, you can only raise them by 5% of whatever your levy is. So that isn't going to really bring you up, that much.
No, it's not going to get you back to where you were. That's why it's dangerous that the state allows you to cut them as much as you want, but you can only raise them back up by 5%.
Right.
So it's dangerous to think that you have that's a great selling opportunity.
I think new growth's going to help us in this, in next year's situation.
I agree. I think, we pick up a little of that, and we did have, the insurance did go up 1%, so maybe some people's it didn't, but the overall, I think, went up. Let's see what they have in, let's see what they show.
For what insurance? The Informa?
Yeah, the health insurance. The actual was 128. We budgeted 150. So we went up a little bit, knowing that some people might move on to family plans or having a spouse added. People don't realize how expensive insurance is.
But again, that's just out of the town fund.
That's just out of the town fund.
I mean, overall, health insurance is north of $300,000 when you rope in the
Founders.
Well, when you rope in all the road district as well as all the township funds, we're in excess of $300,000 and levying $1.3 million.
But we did have some of these things in case there's some issues. So what we need to, and feel free to just let me know if you have a question, but what we need to do tonight is agree if this is what we want to post. We can post it like this, we can just post the budget portions. I kind of like to leave it like this with showing the actuals. And tomorrow we would, if we prove this, we post it on the website and in the lobby tomorrow, and the ad, or posting the legal notice goes. Yeah, the legal notice has already been started. So does anyone have? I did one other thing, and I don't remember if we decided that at the last meeting in the town fund for the maintenance of the parking lot. I swapped the maintenance with the capital improvements, the asphalt maintenance, because tearing up this parking lot is actually a capital improvement. So that was I mentioned that at our meeting, but I don't know if we...
Seal coating is an expense, but the actual rebuilding is
yes.
a long-term.
So, that's split out, so it'll work out.
Do we have a motion on this? Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Okay, so I guess the question is, what's my motion?
Well, let's get a motion going first.
So do I have, I did do that. Or I just read the subject.
You don't think anybody made a motion? I don't have anything marked. Tammy doesn't have anything marked.
I'm sorry.
I'm usually
Okay.
pretty good about marking.
Good. All right, so do I have a motion to approve posting the Homer Township tentative budget for Founder Crossing, Founders Crossing General Assistance, Open Space Park, and town funds for fiscal year April 1st, 2026 through March 31st, 2027?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Gray?
No second.
And Trustee Marson. Okay, now discussion. Sorry.
Additional discussion.
So when is the updated design?
We're gonna vote on it at the June meeting.
It has to be done by the end of
The
the
end of
first
June.
quarter of the
Yeah.
fiscal year. Okay. So this will go in the middle, and then next meeting we'll vote the finalize.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, and even if something came up at the next meeting, we could still change it.
Correct.
It's just that this is the chance for the public to view it as it is, make their comments. They could come to the meeting, make a public comment, and we could say, oh, we forgot all about that, or whatever. Right? Okay, so,
Supervisor Stylin?
aye.
Trustee Severs?
Aye.
Trustee Merson?
Aye.
And Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Carried. Moving on. So now we're looking at the approval to post the Homer Township Road District tentative budgets for equipment and building, road and bridge funds for fiscal year April 1st, 2026 through March 31st, 2027. I'd like to get a motion for that.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Rita Emerson. Okay, any discussion? Don't want to say anything, I guess we're not going to argue with you.
That'd be a good idea.
It balances. Okay, so you want to call the roll?
Supervisor Stylin?
Aye.
Trustee Severs?
Aye.
Trustee Merson?
Aye.
And Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Okay, moving on. Community center update. Just so you know, the septic bid invitation, I have on my desk. I was going to try to give it to you today. Okay, so I just need to put in some dates, and I guess the first thing I have for you is the grant people want to look at it. Should I send it to you both simultaneously, or should I send it to you first or not first?
Send it to me first, and
Okay.
we'll let the grant people have the final pass.
Okay, then you'll get it first thing in the morning. All right, and then that would be, I anticipate the invitation to bid going up by the end of the week. And the plan for that is to have a bid opening on June 8th and approving the bid on the June 15th meeting. At the open space meeting, community center meeting, we went over next steps for what to do moving on. So we would like to do an RFQ for the architect. I'm just going to go over to it. And then, so we would have an approval for, I don't know if the board needs to approve doing a request for qualifications. Okay, so we almost have one ready to go. Somebody knows how to write it, has written it. But I'm going to send it to you for review. So it's going to be for review. And then we'll review the submissions with board members and committee members and maybe somebody else from the community. And then we might do this simultaneously with the request for proposals and asking for a scope of service of the architects and their hourly rate. So qualifications is separate from pricing. And then ask the architect to do a schematic design and development design, and then send the schematic design to and development designs to a general contractor that can give us a budget figure. And at that point,
This is a timeline.
yes.
This is not all on June 15th.
No, I'm just giving you an idea of the steps.
Thank you.
These are the steps. But the point I'm trying to make is at the same time, once we get the design and a budget, we could approach banks if we want to.
Absolutely.
For
I think you can do that now, yeah.
But we don't have, you have to bring something to them. You know, you can't just say, hey, we want to borrow
No,
X amount of dollars.
but I think in the meantime, while you're putting out the RFQ and waiting for that to close, you could be approaching the bank or banks
Yes.
and just finding out what the criteria is and what you need to have ready so that you're kind of ready to go.
Right.
I mean, we've all been there, you know, where you go in to do something and find out, you know, the 2 documents that you need, or, you know, things that you're gonna take another week to procure, maybe we can get ahead of that.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So while that is taking place, once it's, it's published, we can do that kind of legwork, okay? And then, with that, then also do an RFQ after you get all the stuff from the architect for a general contractor asking for proposals with a budget, and then.
That's a request for quote, right? Not qualifications at that point.
Right.
Right. Because you're gonna have bid packet, basically.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to look, my notes are a little bit sketchy, but.
I think instead of doing an RFQ, I think you're gonna be out to bid.
Well, yeah, you could just bid for a general contractor and then choose the GC. And I think that's what we were favoring versus, because if we had all the information, because what I understand is general contractors inflate for the risk that they have to take on a project. And if you have everything set before you go to the general contractor, then you're not forcing him to like say, oh, well, it might run me $500,000 versus $400,000. So, from the contractors that we talked to, they said that would be the route to take. So that's moving along on the community center. Did I explain that okay? I'm a layperson on this as well. Right. And then I just wanted to touch on benches at the dog park. The metal benches that are there, they're very rusty, and we talked about possibly painting them, and they're going to need a lot of work in there. There were some safety issues, so we are looking at purchasing new benches for the dog park. I think that it's going to be under $5,000, so just if it's not, it's going to have to come to the board. And then I wanted to give an update on the audit. We're seeking quotes. Mary Kat was on vacation for a week this past month, and I just didn't have more time to do it, and we're facing a deadline to try and get that in as well. And so that's all I have under old business. And so it's, we did new business. Does anyone else have any new business? Okay, and I could discuss I put a closed session. I don't have anything to go into closed session with. I just put it on the agenda in case we needed it. And I guess in reference to, did talk about insurance and raises and things like that for employees at our last meeting. I'm not sure how we want to proceed on that discussion, that we're waiting for the insurance we don't have the rates for the year. The insurance company would be doing a census of the employees in July, so we wouldn't know anything about insurance rates for future rates.
What does that mean, doing a census of them?
Well, like finding out what the demographics are, are they married?
Like what's
families.
changed since the last time?
Yes, right.
And
Because employees change.
Right. And their situation
and then they take that information and they go out and talk to like the Blue Cross, Aetna, Cignas of the world and come back to us with options. And they have like 7 different options to possibly help with reducing the rate of the insurance, whether you're raising deductibles, or you max out how much that they have to pay or make up a difference. And they would put all of that in writing to us to review and see if there was anything that we could do to lower those rates. So I don't know, we have this budget here. It doesn't have any raises for employees, and it doesn't have any changes for insurance because we won't know. The insurance rates change in December. So, anyone else have anything to say or add? So we'll just wait on that, and I can also pursue another broker. I told our broker that. We might look and see.
The health insurance broker.
Yes, and I did reach out to another township that's a member of the Metropolitan Township Association, which we are not, because they charge based on your appropriations. So it would cost us like $3,000 to join. which, you know, unless we're gonna get something, I know, out of it, like being in an insurance pool or something else, I'm not ready to spend that money. So, other than that, does anyone else have anything else?
Nope.
Okay, then, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.